Have you ever considered if the phase where a man resides alone could be the most liberated, the most serene, and perhaps the most purposeful segment of his journey? Perhaps you did not anticipate it. Perhaps there was a separation after decades of striving to maintain harmony. Perhaps you lost a cherished companion beyond what language can express. Or perhaps the children have matured now. The residence is hushed. And for the initial occasion in many years, there is merely you. Initially, it seems odd. The stillness is more pronounced than any clamor ever was. Meals for one, lights extinguished at your discretion, celebrations appear altered. Even your steps resonate strangely. There is a feeling of absence, of something absent, and it can weigh heavily. But occasionally amid that hush, something different emerges. Not solitude, but lucidity. Not grief, but expanse. And gradually, without seeking approval, the individual who devoted years to prioritizing others starts to reclaim himself. In this video, we are going to delve into 9 sincere, profoundly experienced advantages of living alone as an older man. This is not a compilation of a superficial guidance or vacant motivation. It is a contemplation drawn from authentic experiences, genuine instances, and the subtle resilience that arises from electing to exist completely. Even in solitude, if you have ever surveyed your dwelling and pondered if this period of life is merely a conclusion, or if perhaps it is an inception concealed, then remain with me because what you are about to encounter might assist you in viewing your own seclusion in an entirely fresh manner. Benefit number 1, true freedom. No one to ask, no one to please. There is a form of liberty that only resonates after 60. It is not boisterous. It does not arrive with pyrotechnics or elaborate displays. It manifests in subdued instance when you recognize you do not need to consult anyone prior to determining the type of day you desire. You awaken when your physique indicates readiness. You brew coffee without the necessity for casual conversation. You leave the utensils in the basin since no one is visiting. And truthfully, you will attend to them subsequently. There is no one inquiring about supper, no one remarking on your timetable, no one requiring you to be anywhere except where you presently are. Michael, a retired engineer from Chicago, shared something with me that I have always remembered. Following his separation, he relocated to a modest cottage near Lake Michigan. The initial evening by himself, he mentioned it seemed as if the walls were overly proximate, overly silent. But by the conclusion of the first week, he discovered himself painting once more, listening to tunes he had not enjoyed in years, even swaying a bit in the den when unobserved. I did not realize how much of my essence I had stored away. He stated, "Now I can perceive my own thoughts. I can perceive my own existence. Living alone provides that. It offers you area to exist as you are without conforming to another's tempo. It permits you to decelerate or accelerate without verification. You commence constructing your days around what is significant to you, not from duty, not from habit, but from selection. And it is not about self-centeredness. It is about authenticity, about recollecting that your time still pertains to you, that your inclinations, your minor ceremonies, your method of traversing the day, they are important. After a lifetime of nurturing, adapting, accommodating, and contributing. This type of liberty is not extravagance. It is restorative, it is genuine, it is deserved, and perhaps for the first occasion. You get to exist not as someone's companion or guardian or sustainer, but simply as yourself. No one to consult, no one to gratify, just you. Finally, sufficient being sufficient. As we transition to the next benefit, consider how this freedom sets the stage for deeper healing in the quiet that follows. Benefit number 2, quiet heals what chaos damaged. When the commotion diminishes, something else commences. Initially, the tranquility can seem disconcerting, too motionless, too acute, too replete with recollections. But if you remain with it sufficiently, if you cease attempting to occupy it with broadcasts or dialogue or task lists, that tranquility begins to transform. It ceases reverberating with deprivation and starts to settle like gentle sunlight through a pane. After years of nurturing a household, laboring full-time, and sharing quarters with others, most men overlook what authentic silence even resembles. Not the silence of being disregarded, but the variety that demands nothing from you, the variety that embraces you. David, 75, spent the majority of his life in a lively home in Boston. Children dashing through the corridors, suppers brimming with voices and viewpoints. Then his spouse departed, the offspring relocated, and he discovered himself solitary in the mornings. Initially, he saturated the atmosphere with sound, updates on the wireless, melodies in every chamber. But one dawn, he refrained from activating anything. He merely sat, beverage in grasp, observing the vapor ascend and descend in the chill illumination of early day. It felt like the initial occasion in years I could hear my own reflections. He conveyed to me, and I comprehended I was not shattered. I was merely weary. And silence is where I began to repair. Quiet affords the anxious system an opportunity to respire. The physique decelerates. The heartbeat stabilizes. Thoughts discover their path back to equilibrium. You commence to observe minor elements again. The murmur of foliage, the groan of timber, the sensation of your respiration on a frosty morning. These are not diversions. They are enticements. They prompt you that you are still present, still vital, still able to be touched by uncomplicated splendor. You do not need to flee the quiet. You need to heed it. Allow it to embrace you. Allow it to become the expanse where sorrow can respire, where remorse can mellow, where the tempo of your existence can finally align with the cadence of your spirit. Because when you cease evading silence, you might discover that it is not vacant at all. It is abundant with everything you have been too occupied to sense. What is one word that depicts the serenity you discovered in hushed instants? Share silence in the comments below to inform us. Your narrative could motivate someone else to accept their own stillness. If this strikes a chord, please subscribe to our YouTube channel to join our community of insight and contemplation. Moving smoothly from this healing quiet, let us explore how it extends to claiming full authority over your personal domain. Benefit number 3, your home, your rules. Total control over your space. There is something profoundly reassuring about entering an area that feels completely yours. No concessions, no discussions, no unspoken strain over what belongs where or how matters should be arranged. Just a subdued assurance. This is my residence and I fit in it. For numerous older men, this is the initial occasion in decades they have possessed complete authority over their living area. It is not about lavish furnishings or impeccable adornment. It is about significance. It is about being encircled by the items that mirror who you are, not who you were compelled to be. Robert, 72, relocated to a humble cabin in the Colorado Rockies after his wife passed. He possessed little, but he possessed liberty. He converted one wall into a remembrance display, images from his days in the military, his youngsters as young children, his preferred hiking adventure. He positioned a weathered armchair by the opening, precisely where the afternoon glow strikes. A compact receiver broadcast classic folk melodies. No one else would ornament like this. He grinned, but everything here resonates with me. That is the allure of it. You are no longer attempting to impress anyone or maintain expectations. You are crafting ease, not exhibition, and in doing so, you recapture something that frequently vanishes as we age, a sense of possession over your existence. Studies indicate that possessing command over your surroundings, regardless of how minor, can enhance psychological well-being, diminish unease, and even decelerate cognitive deterioration. But beyond that, It simply feels pleasant selecting what you view upon awakening, what seat you occupy when you peruse, what aroma persists in your cooking area. These small choices murmur something potent. You still count here. So display the photographs you adore. Retain the volumes you genuinely read. Prepare what you relish, even if it is the identical dish 3 evenings consecutively. Your residence should feel like a warm, acquainted greeting each time you enter. Because after a life of yielding to others, fulfilling requirements, compromising aspirations, this area, this residence is where you finally get to declare without reluctance, "This is me." As we build on this sense of ownership, it naturally leads to a deeper exploration of rediscovering your inner self in the absence of observers. Benefit number 4, rediscovering yourself. Who are you when no one is watching? There is a peculiar hush that settles after the roles dissipate. No more hastening to gatherings. No one summoning you farther from the passageway. No one inquiring about supper. You recline in a seat you selected at a moment unscheduled by others, and abruptly you are just you. Not the parent, not the spouse, not the sustainer, just a man inhaling, pondering, existing, and the inquiry gradually ascends. Who am I now? For many men, that inquiry used to be interred beneath accountability. You became what others required you to be, occasionally magnificently, occasionally from sheer endurance. But when life quiets, when it is just your voice in the chamber, there is room to ponder again. What do I relish? What do I value? What makes me feel vital? Not beneficial, not dutiful, but vital. James, 68, devoted most of his professional life as a mechanic in Detroit. He was precise, always punctual, always reliable. But after retirement and a peaceful separation, he found himself in a single-room dwelling with no appointments, no agendas, no one to care for. For weeks, he was uncertain what to do. Then one twilight, he retrieved a volume on history that had rested on his ledge for years. He perused it leisurely. Then he began documenting thoughts. He acquired a second-hand guitar and started strumming melodies at dusk. "I do not know if it is mastery," he said, "but I finally feel like I am perceiving the world again. And perhaps for the first time, I am beginning to perceive me too." Living alone provides that reflection, subdued but truthful. It invites you to recall what you once cherished, to investigate what still beckons you, and to attempt things without critique or display. No one is observing. No one is evaluating. It is just you learning to coexist with yourself. Again, you may not discover responses immediately. That is acceptable. The procedure is the essence. You are not reinventing yourself. You are revealing what has always existed, awaiting. That gradual return to the individual beneath the roles in that rediscovery, that might just be the most sacred voyage of all. What is one number that symbolizes a passion you are rediscovering? Perhaps the years since you last attempted it? Comment discovery below to share your path. Your inspiration could illuminate the way for others finding themselves anew. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel to remain linked with narratives of development and rejuvenation. This rediscovery often brings practical freedoms too, like the financial ease we will discuss next. Benefit number 5, financial freedom. Lighter, simpler, and truly yours. There is a particular alleviation that arrives when the burden of monetary duty finally starts to lighten. For decades, your earnings may have extended in every direction: home loans, education costs, maintenances, family necessities, unforeseen crises. You managed it, often with silent forfeiture, but now, living alone, something alters, the rhythm slows, the requirements soften, and your funds, what you possess, what you have preserved, what you elect to expend, it finally feels like it belongs to you. Monetary liberty at this juncture is not about opulence. It is about clarity. You commence to perceive what genuinely matters and what does not. The large dwelling that once accommodated a family, perhaps now it is just chambers you no longer need to occupy. Reducing size is not surrendering. It is releasing the disturbance, releasing what no longer suits your existence. And in that simplicity, you acquire something profounder, autonomy. You determine where the funds go. Perhaps it is a serene getaway, a fresh pursuit, a comfortable seat you have always desired. Perhaps it is just knowing that the expenses are settled and the pantry is stocked, and no one is relying on you to support them anymore. You learn to exist with less, not from scarcity, but from insight. You cease pursuing and commence selecting. You are no longer expending to impress or to maintain or to uphold facades. You are expending for solace, for serenity, for delight, and perhaps for the first occasion. You expend without remorse. You no longer question, will they be fine, before purchasing something uncomplicated for yourself. You no longer experience the subtle pain of placing your needs last. Now your selections mirror your principles, not endurance, not position, but something quieter, something more truthful. Living alone will not eradicate every monetary concern, but it clarifies the disturbance. It assists you in perceiving what truly benefits your existence. And in that expanse, money ceases being merely a means to endure the month. It becomes a method to nurture yourself on your conditions at your rhythm. It is not about possessing more. It is about finally utilizing what you have in a manner that makes you feel complete. Building on this sense of financial peace, it naturally enhances your overall mental well-being. As we will see in the following benefit. Benefit number 6, better mental health. No more expectations, just peace. There is a type of tension that establishes so progressively you almost overlook it as present. The compulsion to maintain everyone content, the strain of preserving cohesion, the perpetual sensation that your time, your vitality, even your sentiments belong to another. And then one day, you awaken in an area that is hushed. No one is awaiting you. No one is assessing your value by what you have accomplished today. You traverse your morning at your own tempo. The beverage tastes more robust. The sunlight feels gentler. You exhale without realizing you have been restraining your breath for years. That is what serenity can resemble. Not theatrical, not remote, just existent. When you reside alone, the anticipations dissipate. You are no longer molding your words, your dispositions, or your determinations around another's necessities. And in that liberty, your mind commences to mellow. The incessant clamor of performance fades. The former pressure to elucidate yourself, validate your selections, or fulfill unspoken demands. It is simply absent. Psychological well-being in advanced age does not stem from seclusion. It stems from respite. Respite from the roles you bore for decades. Respite from being all to all. And in that respite, your anxious system begins to recalibrate. You discover yourself slumbering more profoundly, fretting less, feeling more anchored in your form, more comfortable in your reflections, uncomplicated routines like a daily stroll, a few hushed minutes with your respiration, or reclining by the opening with a warm drink become remedy, not because they rectify everything, but because they prompt you that composure is feasible, that this rendition of existence does not have to be lived in protection, it can be lived in cadence. And yes, there are instances of solitude. That is genuine. But solitude is not the antithesis of serenity. Occasionally they arrive concurrently. And with time, even that discomfort becomes milder because it is not intensified by bitterness or clamor or emotional burden. It is just a subdued prompt that you are human, still sensing, still present. Living alone does not resolve everything, but it generates expanse. And occasionally expanse is precisely what the heart requires to commence healing. What is one word that seizes the tranquility you are pursuing in this season of existence? Drop peace in the comments to share your thoughts. Your voice is significant and could solace someone experiencing the same. We would be honored if you would subscribe to our YouTube channel to explore more moments of restoration together. With this mental peace in place, relationships often evolve into something richer, as the next benefit reveals. Benefit number 7, relationships become deeper, less often, more meaningful. Something unforeseen occurs when you start devoting more time alone. You commence to appreciate connection differently, not by how frequently it transpires or how extended the dialogues endure, but by the sentiment it leaves in its wake. When you are not encircled by individuals every day, you begin to recognize who truly counts, and when they connect, it does not feel like obligation, it feels like benevolence. The reality is, when you reside alone, the disturbance of superficial relationships commences to wane. You are no longer engaging in trivial conversation from routine or enduring visits that deplete more than they contribute. You cease pursuing intimacy, and instead you commence to accept it as a present, not a requirement. A telephone exchange becomes something to anticipate. A midday meal with a mature offspring carries more significance. Even a handwritten note or a straightforward thinking of you communication can persist in your heart for days. Because now when people appear, it is deliberate, it is selected, it is affection without timetable. Living alone also alters something within you. You no longer feel drawn in numerous emotional paths. You possess the expanse to listen more attentively, to speak more candidly, to be fully existent when someone discloses their heart. And when you speak, it is not merely words, it is contemplation, it is recollection, it is concern, unrushed. Some individuals might believe that living alone leads to detachment, but in many respects it leads to refinement. You commence to release relationships that were constructed on duty, and you incline into the ones rooted in verity. And while you may not encounter people every day, when you do, it signifies something. The absence between encounters makes the instance more abundant. The time apart fosters gratitude, and you start to comprehend you do not require a multitude to feel linked. Just a few hearts that still create room for yours. And perhaps that is what profound relationship truly is. Not constant attendance, but shared significance across the hushed expanses in between. This deepened connection often reignites a sense of self-assurance, leading us to the next benefit. Benefit number 8, confidence and self-reliance return, like in your 20s, but wiser. Something astonishing transpires when you begin accomplishing tasks independently again. Initially, it may feel unfamiliar, even exasperating. You struggle with a resistant container top. You decipher how to restore the internet connection. You learn to oversee your remedies without prompts. But then, quietly and consistently, you observe something else ascending beneath the exterior: assurance. Not the variety you possessed in your youth. Loud, audacious, full of vigor, but something profounder, steadier, wiser. Living alone invites you to rely on yourself again, not because you must demonstrate anything, but because you are competent, and every minor act becomes a prompt of that truth. Repairing the faucet, arranging your accounts, preparing your own supper precisely as you prefer it. There is pride in those instants, not because they are remarkable, but because they are yours. And in performing those things, you commence to trust yourself again. You recollect that you have endured worse, that you have resolved more challenging issues, that regardless of what your body feels like today, your spirit still knows how to stand independently. There is also something quietly potent about becoming your own proponent. You pose inquiries at the physician's office. You manage your own schedule. You decide when you desire assistance and when you would rather attempt it yourself. And that decision, even when it leads to experimentation, becomes its own form of strength. You are not who you were at 20. And that is the essence. Because now you do things not to prove you can, but because you know you still can. You have earned your autonomy, you have earned your cadence, and every time you navigate existence alone, you reclaim something that was never lost, just concealed beneath years of caring for everyone else. Living alone does not mean you must do everything alone, but when you do and when you elect to, it prompts you of who you are: competent, grounded, still acquiring knowledge, still developing, still standing, resilient. What is one number that mirrors a small triumph you have attained independently recently? Comment strength below to commemorate your endurance. Your bravery could motivate someone else to persist. Like and share this video if it resonates. And consider subscribing to our YouTube channel for more empowering insights. This renewed confidence opens the door to finding joy in everyday simplicities. As our final benefit illustrates, benefit number 9, joy in the simple things. When ordinary moments become magic, as existence decelerates, something exquisite transpires. What once felt commonplace commences to gleam. You start to observe the mild warmth of the morning sun gliding across your table. The manna vapor twirls from your mug, the subdued murmur of leaves outside your opening, and abruptly the small things feel sacred. When you reside alone, you are not rushing from one matter to the next. You are not ensnared in another's timeline. You traverse your day with a gentleness that opens your eyes to instants you used to overlook, and those instants, those tiny, hushed, beautiful things commence to feel like sufficient. Delight no longer stems from accomplishment. It stems from attendance, from the sensation of earth in your palms while caring for a plant, from the gradual turning of a cherished volume, from the familiar resonance of precipitation tapping on your rooftop at night. These are not grand displays. They are not landmarks, but they are yours. And that is what makes them potent, because they are not borrowed. They are not filtered through another's necessity or haste. They arrive quietly and request only that you notice, that you be there for them. You commence to comprehend you do not need clamor to feel vital. You do not need acclaim to feel proud. You do not need a full residence to feel linked. Occasionally, just being there with yourself in serenity is enough to fill your heart. Delight at this juncture is not the pyrotechnics of youth. It is the candlelight of attendance, and it burns steadily when you learn how to sit still enough to perceive it. Final reflection. Now that we have journeyed through these 9 subtle treasures of living alone, pause for an instant to survey your own area, not with judgment, not with yearning, but with attendance. What does it echo back to you? Does it seem like a place where you truly exist, or just a place where you rest? It is simple to disregard the patterns that have accompanied us for years, to dismiss the seat that no longer bolsters our frame, to overlook the hush we have never reconciled with, to delay the minor adjustments that could render this phase not merely tolerable, but exquisite. You do not need to alter everything. Perhaps it is shifting a seat nearer to the sunlight. Perhaps it is leaving your preferred volume open by the bedside. Perhaps it is finally broadcasting that classic melody you adored in your 30s and allowing it to permeate the chamber again. Living alone is not a setback. It is not a termination. It is a distinct form of liberty, a distinct form of resilience. And in that expanse, you get to determine what counts now, what delivers solace, what delivers vitality, because you have labored diligently to construct this existence, to withstand sorrow, to nurture others, to appear repeatedly, even when unobserved. Do not permit these years to pass on automatic. Do not allow the quiet to be squandered. Allow it to sustain you. Allow it to prompt you that you are still present, still selecting, still evolving. And perhaps this evening, instead of occupying the silence, you will remain with it. Perhaps you will ignite a small candle, open the pane, respire a bit more slowly, and sense even for a moment the subdued resilience of being precisely where you are. Inform us in the comments what is one small alteration you will make this week to introduce more solace, significance, or serenity into your living area. Take a simple action today by liking this video if it spoke to you, and share it with a friend who might benefit. And if this video provided you with something to contemplate, we hope you will subscribe to our YouTube channel and comment a simple sentence about your own quiet strength. Because occasionally the most uncomplicated message shared at the appropriate moment can transform someone's entire day, perhaps even their existence.